Part 3. So, let's discuss first Larry Summers, simply because nothing is random. Oh, shalom unto you. Part 3. But let's talk about Larry Summers, simply because I pulled that name just kind of randomly, put it into WikiLeaks at the end of part 2 to kind of show like all the data access we have. Well, when I got ready to make this video, I'm like, well, let me read this email and that I had pulled up, and I did. And then I started reading some more, and then I looked into who Larry Summers is, and it is very interesting because not only is he a past president of Harvard, he's like a macroeconomist, but he's linked to Obama and the Clintons. Shocker, huh? But we're going to focus specifically on getting inserted into the timeline, the Noahide laws, how they were recognized in the United States, and a interesting case that actually argues in an amicus brief before the Supreme Court. Well, I think they argued by briefs, meaning they didn't go there and speak on it. They submitted the documentation as the argument. But that's like semantics, really. So, the Roe v. Wade case, we know that, well, the Roe v. Wade came into effect in 1973. There was a case filed by some AGs and DAs, I think, in the state of Mississippi, saying that the government, federal government, was inaccurate by taking the power away from the states when it comes to whether or not they allow abortion. And they wanted that right returned to it. Now, what's really interesting is the beginning of the case actually began because they simply wanted to put limits. They didn't want late termination, right? Because I think, I mean, this is just a personal thought. I think they knew that the pharmaceutical, the medical, and the people who get off on putting fetal tissue on their faces, I think they knew that they were harvesting this fetal tissue and making a ton of money on it, right? So, like, who's really benefiting here? You know, you charge the mother an insane amount of money, and then you take the waste, which is sad to even label that, but that's a topic for another day, and then you sell it to the highest bidder. So, what? So the Noahide laws are 7 moral and ethical principles derived from Jewish tradition believed to be based on divine commandments given to Adam and Noah. They prohibit idolatry, blasphemy, murder, theft, sexual immorality, eating flesh from a living animal, and require the establishment of just legal systems. They are considered universal moral laws applicable to all humanity, as all people are descendants of Noah following the flood, and that's key. They began being recognized by the United States government back in 1982 when President Ronald Reagan issued Proclamation 4921 designating April 4th, 1982 as the National Day of Reflection and referencing the eternal validity of the 7 Noahide laws as a moral code for all people, regardless of faith. This was followed by House Joint Resolution 447, which was passed by Congress in 1982. Now, in 1989, George Bush Sr. issued Proclamation 5956 proclaiming my daughter's birthday, April 16th, 1989, and April 6th, 1990, as Education Day, USA. In this proclamation, he acknowledged that the principles of moral and ethical conduct, including the Noahide laws, have formed the basis for all civilizations and are foundational to American society. The 102nd United States Congress further solidified this recognition in 1991 by passing, I knew there was a 1991 reference, by passing Public Law 102-14, which officially designated March 26, 1991 as Education Day USA. What's interesting about that is, if you look at it, the timing of the Rodney King riots. This legislation explicitly stated that the United States was founded upon the 7 universal laws of Noah, and that these laws have been the bedrock of society since the dawn of civilization. So, why am I all giddy about this? I think it's because we have been allowed to have our moral spirit twisted by a group of individuals who claim a position of authority from like university level to where, I mean, whatever, like they claim we should listen to them because they're smarter, right? Morally superior or whatever. But right is right and wrong is wrong, right? So I don't give a shit if you've got 16 letters after your name. If what's coming out of your mouth doesn't align with the word of God, you ain't on my team. And I'm on God's team. So, you know, scurry along. Thunder, feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder, thunder. Sorry. Now you may be saying, now what's this got to do with Roe v. Wade? Well, it actually has a lot to do with it, because when Mississippi, I can't even remember if I already said this. If I did, I'll edit it out. I only got 2 minutes. So the Noahide laws were used as an argument from the pro-life, Jewish pro-life organization as a reason why abortion is wrong, because it's morally unacceptable to the Most High. So, and the premise for bringing this cases wasn't to outlaw it. The premise was to limit it. So, what did the Supreme Court actually do in their ruling? What they did is they looked at the original Roe v. Wade case and said the federal government has no right to tell each individual state what they can allow their citizens to do or not do. That's a state issue. So that is actually repealing unlawful federal overstepping of the right? And I'm not like a federalist. So anyone who wants to help me explain this better, please do. But the Noahide laws are why we're seeing this shift where evil is being brought, in my opinion, is being brought out, and everybody's shit is getting exposed. Because we're finally walking in alignment with God. So, and we have someone who fears God in the White House. And God is God. So he likes it when his children listen to him and obey his instructions. Part 4 coming up. Shalom.